The United States distributes billions in discretionary grants through a government-by-proxy model, relying on a vast network of intermediaries to deliver social services. The structural vulnerability of this system was exposed by the Feeding Our Future scandal in Minnesota, a $250 million fraud scheme that became the largest of its kind in the nation. This timeline traces the growth of fraudulent payments, from $1.4 million in 2019 to over $140 million by 2021. As payments skyrocketed, agencies ignored basic warning signs like overdue audits, even asking the organization to investigate itself. This case reveals a breakdown in oversight. When the public sector loses the ability to verify the reality behind a report, it defaults to a system of trust that criminals can easily exploit. This divergence creates an accountability gap. Funding systems currently prioritize meeting participation and grant writing sophistication over the rigorous measurement of actual life transformation. While nonprofits were historically intended to fill gaps left by government and market failures, many have become part of a nonprofit industrial complex that is more accountable to its funders than the communities it serves. This lack of accountability is hidden by the ambiguity of indirect costs. When administrative expenses are poorly defined, public funds intended for direct service are easily diverted to institutional maintenance. The challenge is visible at the highest levels. The Department of Labor oversees millions of workers, but has identified its own management of discretionary grants as a critical weakness. These struggles contrast with the Government Accountability Office, which operates as a standard for operational efficiency. The GAO reports a return of $338 for every dollar invested in its work, a level of fiscal performance the agencies it monitors rarely achieve. Without standardized, outcome-based reporting, public dollars frequently fund policy theater, an ecosystem of meetings and conferences that generate conversation rather than tangible results. Public policy often assumes that nonprofit status is a proxy for virtue, but this tax status fallacy can hide significant inefficiencies. This table compares traditional cosmetology schools, which depend heavily on federal Title IV aid, against the lean model used by the Louisville Beauty Academy. Traditional schools often bundle programs into 1,500-hour tracks to maximize federal subsidy capture. LBA uses a targeted approach, offering specialized tracks, like 450 hours for nail technology, to get students into the workforce faster. This affects the student's bottom line. A typical Title IV program can cost upwards of $27,000 in student debt. LBA offers the same training for roughly $6,250 through cash-based tuition and interest-free plans. Sequential models require students to consume public capital through grants and loans before they can begin to contribute to the economy. LBA utilizes a concurrent contribution model. By lowering costs, students can work at regional hubs like Amazon or UPS while they learn, remaining active taxpayers throughout their education. Because the initial taxpayer investment is zero and the student continues to pay into the tax base, this model creates immediate societal value without the risk of debt defaults. Manual grant reporting is no longer sufficient. Relying on selective narration from funded entities makes it nearly impossible to detect systemic waste. Governments must require funded entities to submit their administrative corpus, every budget, invoice, and payroll record, into an AI auditable system. In this flowchart, the AI performs narrative-to-reality mapping. It clusters the claims found in marketing and reports, then compares them directly to licensure databases and tax records to identify outcome inflation.
Through cost attribution, the system links every payroll dollar to a verified outcome. This allows auditors to detect grant recycling, where the same staff positions are funded by multiple overlapping initiatives. Finally, anomaly detection uses pattern recognition to flag unusual spending spikes. If this had been in place in Minnesota, the rapid escalation of payments would have triggered an investigation in weeks, not years. This creates a transparent digital record, giving oversight agencies the tools to identify and redirect funds away from administrative bloat in real time. Total document ingestion shifts the government from a reactive audit posture to a proactive system of algorithmic verification. Improved technology must be paired with a new fiscal framework, the bifurcated funding doctrine. This ends the practice of perpetual operational subsidies. As shown in this flowchart, the first rule is that public money should fund durable infrastructure. This includes training labs, equipment, and the digital architecture required for compliance. These are fixed assets. They ensure that the physical capacity to train citizens remains a permanent community resource, regardless of whether a specific operator succeeds or fails. The second rule is that operational funding, like salaries and marketing, must be earned through a pay-for-results model. Payments are only released as milestones are verified: 25% for program completion, 25% for licensure, 25% for job placement, and the final 25% for 180-day workforce retention. This doctrine explicitly prohibits using public funds for intermediary overhead, lobbying, or meeting participation. By tying payments to specific milestones, this model ensures that the taxpayer only pays for the student's actual career advancement. Kentucky's vocational education data provides a clear example of how these new rules work in the real world. This table shows the official exam volume from the Kentucky Board of Cosmetology. It serves as a neutral baseline for institutional performance. Despite receiving no public operating support, the Louisville Beauty Academy ranks second in the state for total exam events, largely due to its focus on multilingual and specialized testing. Most notably, LBA ranks first in the state for total theory retakes, a metric we can call the Resilience Index. This index proves an operator's commitment to supporting high-need students through the difficult parts of the learning process until they actually achieve licensure. This model produces thousands of licensed graduates without public funding. In contrast, many subsidized intermediaries receive massive grants, while graduating fewer than 100 people a year. When outcomes are the only measure of success, lean, community-rooted operators can outperform bloated, narrative-driven intermediaries. The ultimate goal is competitive neutrality. This is a system where all operators are judged by the same verified results, regardless of their tax status or incorporation. To eliminate administrative waste, legislatures should establish a strict 10% cap on all indirect and administrative costs for discretionary grants. We must also mandate that all funded entities submit their full administrative records to AI systems to replace selective reporting with total transparency. Finally, we must remove artificial barriers to success, such as 3-attempt limits on licensure, to reward persistence rather than penalizing students for initial failure. Claiming to serve the poor without providing verified evidence of economic mobility is not compassion, it is the management of dependency. To restore fiscal integrity and human dignity, governments must stop funding the eloquence of advocacy and begin exclusively funding the measurable